Hi, welcome to the studio. Podcast is all about just interesting people, and I've never had celebrities on before, so this is like a first for me. I mean, we've got three of y'all, but I've got Mayor Dustin Yates. Good to meet you, and happy to have you here. And
yeah, thanks for having us, Chad.
got I know him as Little Rick, Richie Edmonds, councilman.
Oh yeah, councilman.
Councilman.
I like Little Rick better. How about
Little
that?
Rick, okay. And then Chief Todd Morris.
Thank you.
Welcome. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so I thought this was cool. So our wives actually went to high school together because you're from New Orleans.
That's
My
right.
wife's from New Orleans. And, it's a comforting situation when someone's like, oh, I knew your wife from high school. I was like, oh, okay, okay. But if someone says that about me, I'm like, oh, no.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, please.
Oh, no, that's like a bad situation. And I've known you for 25 years.
A long time.
At least. And I'm always glad to meet somebody to fix speeding tickets, man. So great to,
Oh, look out now,
great to
man.
meet you.
Oh, I don't know about that, but
Well, I remember your wife from high school, Chad, and she was an angel. So everything I remember.
She is a sweetheart. She is a sweetheart. But I'm excited to have y'all here because I live in St. George. I've been born and raised in Baton Rouge. I've been here my whole life, and I'm encouraged about some of the new developments that we've had with St. George breaking off as a city. But like just to catch anybody up that may not know, like how does that even happen? Like why does that even happen?
Yeah, sure. Great question. So, I've been involved with the city of St. George effort from the first petition process. So it's not something you see all the time. It's not a regular occurrence. It's only happened a handful of times really in our state over the last 30 or 40 years. And so the legislature has given us a process that's been in place for quite some time. So you have to do a petition process. You want to get something on the ballot, you have to do a petition process. So we started our first one back in 2013. And really the genesis of the idea of creating the city started with the idea of having our own school system. So there was a group that was formed around 2011, and they came up with an idea to incorporate what is now the city of St. George into its own independent school system. And as fate would have it, they went through legislature 2 times, and the last time they were there, I was told to them, well, a collection of neighborhoods just can't simply can't just have their own school system. If you want to have your own school system, you have to go become a city first. So you go become a city first, then come back. And I'm sure that the folks that said that was kind of tongue-in-cheek. They certainly didn't think that we would actually go out and go through the process of creating a city. And, as I look back on it, it's one of those processes that I'm super blessed to have been part of. But I would never want to go back and do it again.
Right.
So being from New Orleans, I've had numerous people from the New Orleans area. Because New Orleans has certain areas that maybe they want to look at doing certain things like this, and I always kind of laugh at them, and I just say, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. So anyway, we went through the first petition process, and there was a lot of things that happened at the back end of it that certainly seemed a little bit below board at the time, but we fell 71 signatures short.
Wow.
And I remember thinking, well, that was a fun process. I'll never do this again. By law, though, you had to wait 2 years before you could start the process again. So we waited 2 years, and within that 2-year period, we kind of refueled the tanks a little bit, and we set forth the second petition in 2018. At that time, we were successful in getting the signatures, got on the ballot in 19. People passed it. Hooray, we got our city. We can get off and get started, get the school system, and then as the story goes, we were tied up in litigation for 5 years. So This really didn't become a reality until April of 24, when the Supreme Court overturned the lower courts and said, you can become a city.
Wow. And so you were involved start to finish.
Yep. So the very first petition, you have to have essentially kind of like sponsors of the petition. So there was 3 of us. It was myself, Josh Hoffpower, and Norman Browning. So we were there from the very beginning, from the little meetings with 10 and 15 people, and we had nothing. We didn't have a dollar. All we had was a kind of a vision and an idea of what we wanted to do. And I can tell you, God played a large role in this story. And I tell people, I said, for folks that say that they don't believe in God, I always tell them, I say, I got a good story to tell you.
Right.
And if you can tell me that God wasn't part of this process from the beginning to the end, I think I'd call you a liar.
Right.
So it's like I said, in anything, you're always going to have things that you wish didn't happen, or you wish you could go back and change. But overall, looking back on the process, it was what it was for a reason.
Right.
And it took this long for a reason. I told somebody this the other day. I said, if we would have come hot out the gate in 13 and got all the signatures and got that thing to a vote in 14 and wouldn't be incorporated, I don't know if we would have been ready.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. In fact, I can almost assure you that we would not have been as prepared as what we were. 12 years later to kind of take on this undertaking. So everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. It's not our timeline; it's his timeline.
For sure.
As I look back on the process, there was things that were interjected in the process, whether it was people, whether it was just things that took place that helped the process, and it was really perfect. Mm-hmm. Nobody else that was ever involved with it could have ever done this by themselves.
Sure.
It's impossible to think that all these things happened and it wasn't for somebody else's purpose. So, we feel very strongly about that. I know I, for one, never shy away from my faith. Mm-hmm. I'm very vocal about it, much to some people's chagrin, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to run from it. I've often said that, I think we've lived too long like this. In our communities, state government, federal government, where it's where we can't share some of these feelings, and I think it's time that we get back to that.
Absolutely. And so, it's cool you're involved start to finish, and you were in your career as a fireman at the time.
I was.
And did you see yourself leading this city, or?
No.
Was that the plan, the dream?
No, that was never my plan.
Okay.
I got involved in this thing in the beginning because at the time I had two small kids. I had a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. And I thought that, wow, this would be pretty cool if we could have our own school system and have some different options for our kids. Now they're 15 and 17. So that was my interest in the beginning of getting involved in it. I thought it was something that would have been great for our community, great for our kids. Great for the generations to come afterwards. At no time did I ever envision that I would be sitting before you today, being called the mayor. It's still a little weird to me.
Right.
It's still a little surreal.
Yeah.
Once again, there comes time in everybody's life, and if we're strong in our faith and we're listening, God taps us on the shoulder and says, "Look, this is going to be hard. It's going to be challenging, but I'm going to need you to come do this for me."
Right.
And I felt that tap after a lot of other conversation. Obviously my family had to be involved in this.
Of course.
Wouldn't do it if they weren't on board. That presents its own set of challenges. Because when you're in a position like this, it's not just you. Mm-hmm. It's everybody.
Of course.
It's your wife, it's your children, it's your family, it's your friends. All of a sudden, it's like, I kind of joke about it. One day I'm a firefighter, right, and everybody loves firefighters.
Yeah.
And I'm the same guy, right? And the next day I'm an elected official, and all of a sudden I'm a no good rotten, you know what, right? And I sit back and look at him and go, man, I don't think I've changed a whole lot.
Right.
But the world's perspective of you changes.
Of course.
Their purview of you changes, and with that comes challenges for your family.
Yeah.
St. George isn't the biggest community there is. Mm-hmm. Everybody, for the most part, kind of knows either everybody or knows somebody that knows that other person. And so, very seldom can we go out and I'm not going to talk to somebody about St. George.
Right.
And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not so good.
Right.
Because people have strong opinions, and I'm good with that.
Yeah.
And I signed up for that, right?
Sure.
But, sometimes your family gets in those crosshairs as well. So
I'd imagine.
It's been very rewarding. We haven't had a ton of negative experience, and I don't want to make it seem like that.
Yeah.
But it was a tough decision for us to make, for sure.
I bet. Yeah, going from I like how you said it, because everybody loves firemen.
Yeah.
Except cops, maybe. Don't they have like some kind of thing against each other?
It's not so much that they're just jealous.
So he probably likes you.
They're just
He likes
jealous.
you better now that you're not a fireman anymore. So now
Yeah.
y'all can tolerate
That's
each
right.
other.
And
Okay.
we feel like there's a little bit more, even though we did in the past, but we tolerate
You got the
each other more now.
paramedic as the referee in this fight.
Yeah. Are you a
You know,
paramedic?
No.
The thing about Chief here is that he and I first met in 2016. Our paths first crossed during the flood of 16.
Okay.
When the sheriff's office ended up kind of really setting up really kind of like a command post by our headquarters. And that's when I became familiar with him, and he was a major at that time, and that's how he retired out at the sheriff's office. I remember thinking even back then, I was like, man, this guy's the real deal.
Yeah.
He's been on the streets for all these years doing some unbelievable things, and he was just such a great person to work for. And, in the St. George area, we're so and have grown so used to conflict with intergovernmental agencies. And we never had that with him. And the sheriff's office has always been this unbelievable partner for us, and Todd was kind of the face of that for us, really. The sheriff is great, and he has been great with us. But you don't see the sheriff all the time. Todd was really my face of the sheriff's office. So when it came time to appoint a chief of police, and obviously for the election, we honestly could not have asked for anything better than Todd. Todd won't tell you this, so I'll tell you. Todd was worried about, not worried, but he's like, man, I don't know who's going to run against me. I said, Todd, who in the world would run against you in this community? You've been such a part of the fabric of this.
That's great.
And you have such a wonderful reputation in every aspect of law enforcement that you've ever been involved in. I can't imagine somebody that would want to challenge you in this. And, as it told, nobody did.
Okay.
And they shouldn't have, because Todd's a guy for the job. And,
That's great.
He's been unbelievably wonderful. And Todd can speak on this too. Some people I think have their own ideas, and one of the big questions that always comes up is, well, you have a chief of police department, but you don't really have a police department. What does this guy do all day long?
Right. Boss himself around?
Yeah, does he sit in the corner and twiddle his thumbs and do whatever else?
Yeah.
And Todd understands that too. I mean, people have that perspective, but I can tell you everything that we do with the city, Todd is a part of, and he's as busy as anybody, especially now with a lot of things that we're doing.
Yeah, I bet. What is your first big challenge starting a city? I mean, I've started some things, started a church, ministries, businesses, started a few diets in my life. What is the first thing you tackle? I mean, starting a school system, which was the original vision, I mean, I would imagine that's quite an undertaking. So what is the chip away at it? The pecking order of it.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I probably would have answered this question a dozen different ways if I was asked a dozen different times over the last year. But I think it all really comes back to this as far as the most challenging is the management of expectations.
Yeah.
So we live in a time now where I can tell you, and I'm sure these guys and you probably fall in that same category, there's not a day that goes by in my life that I don't drive up to my house and there's not 3 Amazon packages on my front stoop. Mm-hmm. Now, the only thing that's in common about any of them is that none of them are for me.
Right.
And the point I bring that up is that we live in this world now where, I want something, I just have to hit a button on my phone. I don't have to leave the comfort of my living room. Within 24 hours, I got a brand new pair of shoes.
Right.
I got a backpack. I got whatever. And it's literally delivered to your house. So we live in this time where people want everything to happen in a particular speed, right? And that doesn't really translate very well to building a city,
right?
It doesn't translate very well to building in some of the foundational procedures and processes that have to be in place if you want to be successful. And it's a conversation I have with our council and our city staff all the time. I said, look. I could go out tomorrow and start throwing money at this and throwing money at that and doing all these things and, essentially putting out spot fires and things like that. But is that really the best thing to do with our money? Is that really the best thing to do with our resources? So it's constantly a process of saying, look, I hear you. I understand it. I know you have a drainage problem in your backyard.
Right.
I know you have some potholes on your street. I know you're having an issue with fill in the blank, whatever it is. It's important to us. It's absolutely going to be prioritized. But understand this: the problem that you have in your neighborhood, it's in every neighborhood.
Yeah.
I go into every neighborhood there is in St. George, and I can tell you, if there's one that doesn't have some type of issue, tell me where it's at. I'll mark that one off the list, but I haven't found it yet.
Right.
Right. So managing those expectations of folks and timelines, and I'm going to tell you, I feel like 2 days after we won a Supreme Court case, we were getting phone calls about filling potholes. Like, whoa! I said, I appreciate the enthusiasm, but it's going to take a little time. And since then we've been up and going really for about 13 months now, I guess. Our final contracts, our big contracts, will be put in place by this fall. So fully operational as a city, won't really happen until latter part of fall, early part of winter. And then once you get into that, then it's a matter of, okay, well, what processes do we want to put in place? But it's important, and you have to understand this, and I would hope every elected official understands, is that, you want to set something up that the next guy or gal, when they come into your spot, has a kind of a playbook to go off of and move.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm even more sensitive to that now, because when we walked in the door, the playbook was empty.
Right.
Right. So it's super, super important to establish these processes, and not only to establish them, but there's a learning curve there. Right.
Right.
You have to find out what works and what doesn't work, and things like that. So it's going to take a little time.
Yeah.
And you're just starting to see some optic things that we're starting to do. That we're starting to get some positive feedback. Hey, man, did y'all go cut all the stuff on Hoosier 2 Road? Yeah, we sure did do that. Man, that looks great. Yeah. Well, good. And there's more of that to come.
Right.
Some of the things that you and I have been involved in, and some of the things on Segan Lane. It's just, some of those optic things are just starting to happen, and but it's one of the big questions that what's going to be different?
Right.
Right. How are you going to be different? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? And it's been hard for us. I think I speak for everybody that's been involved in it. It's hard because it's coming.
Yeah.
But
right.
we live in that world where, show me.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's one thing. I've had very, very little to do with politics, and that's because I'm not built for it. I can't stand inconsistencies, which is a lot of times what you see, and I can't stand things that don't make sense. I was at I got invited to this big table meeting with a group. We're talking about the what are we talking about? Talking about the issues with the hotels by our church, because we were super involved. We're over there. I mean, we're trying to just get people into rehabs, all this stuff, and went to this meeting, and they're showing us this. Well, we have this initiative. We have this brochure. And we have this, it was campaign. Is that the word they use? Yeah. We have this campaign. We still have this campaign going. And they start these campaigns with these brochures, and that's literally all they're doing is handing out pieces of paper, and that does nothing. I'm like, man, why don't you put your resources to some good use? So that's always been a frustrating thing for me, just seeing just pointless initiatives and trying to do things on our own instead of partnering with people out there doing it. People out there like getting their hands dirty, involved, which has always been a frustration of mine, which is what was very encouraging about you reaching out to me. So the issue of homelessness kind of, brought us together. I guess you heard the podcast that I did with Brett. And because, I live in St. George. I live in the neighborhood that has the sidewalk that they all walk on from Topgolf all the way to the mall. And I'm like, man, I want my family to be able to use this sidewalk. And so I guess, I'd like to talk for a little while about the homeless thing, just some of the plans, some ideas. And it's a touchy subject because one point of view is you're cruel and heartless, but there's a whole nother side of that coin that I see. So how do you balance that compassion with effectiveness?
Yeah. So we have known for quite a long period of time that we have issues with homelessness in the Segan Lane area, in particular in St. George. That is our ground zero. Mm-hmm. That's where it all kind of stops and starts, right? And our community has known this for a long time. I feel like there's some people that were some folks and groups that were good intentioned, that were trying to make a difference, and I think some of them have. It got to the point for me, Chad, that as not just the mayor, but just a member of the community, I felt like we were part of a group that was enabling this to take place. And for me, it's not being heartless and it's not being cruel. To me, the message is that we're trying to save your life.
Yeah.
We don't go out there with a paddy wagon and load all these people up and bring them to jail because they're on the side of the road. You're out there. All these guys have been out there. The first thing we tell them is, we want to help you.
Yeah.
We want to save your life. I had when we were out there the other day and we were going corner to corner and went back to one of those homeless camps, and the other fellow that we were with, he would introduce me as the mayor, and they would look at me kind of funny, and they're going, "The mayor?
Yeah.
You're here?"
Right.
And I would say, "Yeah." And I would immediately turn to a positive. I said, "We're here because we care about you."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would tell them, I said, "Look, you know better than me that this life is not sustainable.
Yeah.
These streets will absolutely kill you.
Yep.
We have all the resources you need right here. If you tell us today, right this very second, that you're ready to go, you'll be gone.
Yeah.
We'll pick you up. We'll bring you to a medical detox. We'll roll you into a rehabilitation. Roll you into a transitional plan to get you back up on your feet. So all these resources are available, to these ones that are desperately in need of it.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you, I went home that day, Chad, and I told my wife, I said, this was one of the hardest days I've had in a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, just as a human being.
Yeah.
We talked to a group the other day at St. George School, and I told them, I said, we all drive by these corners 100 times a day with our windows rolled up and our air conditioning on, and we're listening to the radio, we're talking to somebody on the phone or whatever, and we completely miss it.
Yeah.
And I fall into that category.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, get out of your car, okay, and get on the streets, and you will have a completely different perspective
Absolutely.
on what is taking place here.
Yeah.
These are human beings.
Yes.
Okay? They are human beings that have lost their way. I mean, we met plumbers, we met electricians, we met tradespeople.
Yeah.
Right? That at some point in their life, things went sideways, and within a blink of an eye, they're on the streets.
Yeah.
Right?
Someone's daughter, someone's son.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see them all the time. Like, that little girl didn't dream of growing up to be homeless. She wanted to have a wedding day and all that, and look where they are.
Well, you even had that one. We were talking to the young man, and you knew him. And in fact, you even had the mom somehow called you.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you relayed to him that the mom's going to be passing by. And you
Yeah.
said, I've seen my mom a few times. And it really was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But another thing you said, when you stopped the car and opened the door and get out.
Yeah.
Well, we did.
Yeah.
I've never really crossed Segan Lane from the
scary.
McDonald's
take
across
your
that we
life
did.
in
That
your
was
hands.
scary.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of these young people, and they're fairly young, are doing this nonstop, 24/7.
Yep.
And that's one of the things we picked up on your podcast with Brett was, I mean, he had gotten in a wreck and he was in a wheelchair,
been
but
hit
he was
6
still on the
times.
Yeah.
street.
Just on Segan.
And that's really that put this in these guys' spirit to
Yeah.
really do this work that we've started.
Yep.
So it's something.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we live in a society that basically, if you don't agree with someone, support someone, allow someone, then you don't love that person. But that's just not true. When you're allowing these things to go on, I mean, there's a handful of severely mentally ill people on the streets of Segan that do not have addictions, that are just mentally ill. I think it's horrible that no one is forcing them and there's no way to get them the help that they need. I think that's just cruel and awful. And for the addiction, people struggling with addiction, I mean, that's one thing for me. It's frustrating because, I mean, I've been in the addiction ministry for over 25 years. And to see someone when I have all the help that they need. And I expressed that to Brett the day he was on the podcast. I'm like, man, I have everything you need and that everybody on those streets needs to get their life on track. Not me personally, but network-wise. We partner with The Grove. We partner with Positive Direction, Woodlake. There's all these rehabs. There's no excuse for them to stay on the streets, and it is enabling, and you're enabling them to kill themselves, to ruin their lives, and to. I thought about this morning. One hits rock bottom, And I think you get to determine where your rock bottom is sometimes. But then these guys have just settled on rock bottom and like, okay, I'm just going to live here. And there comes this point where, okay, well, if you're making this decision to live this way and it's negatively affecting this whole city, well, that's not okay. And that's when I fully support stepping in and doing something about it, because you're not doing it to harm them, you're doing it to force them to get help.
Yeah, the key is we want to try to help them, and that's the mission from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And we understand each situation is unique, and there are a lot of mental health issues, but there are a lot of addiction issues that follow that. There's also another aspect of a criminal element that is embedded in that also too.
Yeah.
And give you an example of that just happened yesterday. We have our Sheriff's Office Extra Duty Patrol that St. George has lined up to help us with this initiative. They made contact with an individual yesterday morning right there on Siegel Lane at the interstate, panhandling, issued him a misdemeanor summons. Several hours later during the day, our Sheriff's Office burglary detectives were working numerous car burglaries, and they developed a suspect. And the suspect was the individual who the deputy had spoken with earlier hours that morning, and he'd committed numerous vehicle burglaries off of an industrialplex, and they ended up locating him late yesterday evening. But, 1 minute he's doing car burglaries and breaking into business. 6 hours later, when it gets daylight, he's standing with a sign, hey, we'll work for food, need help, whatever. But yet we've allowed him to have a criminal aspect of that and vandalize people's property, steal people's belongings, break in their business.
Yeah.
And so it's a multifaceted approach that we have to look at from that. Not only the compassionate side, which you always want to go first.
Of course.
The rehabilitation side, which we want to help them do. Another side, do you have family somewhere? Do we need to help you get back to where your family may be? Because we talked to two this morning on a cleanup initiative that we're working out. One was from Tennessee and one from Alexandria. I said, man, would you like to get back home? We'll help you.
Yeah.
No, I'm happy here. But we've had some that say, yeah, I would need some help getting back home. We want to help them do that also, too.
Yeah.
And look at the totality of the situation and how we can better our community. But the flip side, we can't allow them, if they choose just to live on the streets, to continue to bring trash and all the debris and put it at private businesses and put it on private people's property and just have a litter problem and a trash problem, so to speak, even though some of that is their belongings, but still it is clutter, and no one wants to see that in our community,
Yeah.
And so we want to try to help minimize that and clean up the areas that we can from the multifaceted approach that we're all working on from Mayor Yates and our council people, from our partners, The Grove, from Miss Jennifer Richards, Keep Tiger Town Beautiful.
Yeah.
That poor lady in her organization is a great organization. They met us this morning. Then also another partner that's helped us out is Chris Nakata. He owns Elite Construction Services and Sweet Sweepers out of Gonzales. He's coming out, bringing his equipment, helping clean up the streets, all for free.
Wow.
But he sees the needs to try to help our community, reach out to the community, and let's pay it forward and try to better our community as a team approach.
Right. And all those things, like I like how you mentioned, hey, if you have somewhere to go, we'd love to help you get home. All that takes time, and it takes building relationship. We started our church downtown. We're on 3rd Street, and I met this young girl. She was coming in. It appeared she was being trafficked. She had a guy that would come with her. It was a bad situation. Got to know her, found out she had family in Texas. Somehow we got in touch with that family in Texas, and we were able to get her home using I connected with a police officer on 3rd Street. He had a card strictly for buying bus tickets for people. Yeah. And so got her home, got her some counseling, got her help. We stay in touch to this day. She's now gotten married, has a kid. But that took time, building relationship, and that's a lot of effort. That's a big commitment.
It is. It's not going to. We're not going to. Signal Lane's not going to be cleaned up tomorrow.
No.
Okay. Yes, we're doing some good. We've seen some positive effects just from 3 days now, and which is what we want to see.
Yeah.
But we can't kid ourselves into this false hope that now Signal Lane is cleaned up. It's not.
Yeah.
It's going to be an ongoing, sustainable process.
Yeah.
That's going to take time each week, each month as it goes. Because once you stop doing what you're doing, then we're going to revert back to where we are, and we just can't allow that to happen.
Yeah.
Everybody just wants a clean, nice, feel safe community, and we want to help do our part with that.
Yeah.
All of us do in a team effort and approach.
Yeah. I was speaking with one of the guys that I've connected with. I guess he's like so I can be cool. Like he's my informant. You know what I mean? I got my own little thing happening. But I said, where'd y'all go? He goes, we moved to college. I was like, man, how long do you think you'll be gone? We'll be back in a month. I'm like, okay, thanks for the heads up, man.
I know, and that's what we just have to prepare for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's where we have to have a sustainable program that it doesn't just stop after 60 days or 30 days.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah.
so we have to continue our
Yeah.
efforts and reaching out to them. You know, on a weekly basis. Say, hey, man, are you ready for some help? Now we're still here, and we're still going to offer you some help and help you get out of the situation that you're in.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of still on the homelessness, but more kind of on the crime side. You know, there's the homeless people in the woods, but there's also the homeless people in the hotels. Because I think that's where a major bulk of the crime is coming from. I mean, we call that Waffle House on Seagan the murder Waffle House. Like when we go eat there, we're like, and I go packing. I'm like, I'm ready, you know, but I still want to grand
It's
slam.
really not that now, Beck. Come on.
So what?
That's really not the murder couple. Come on now.
Well, no, someone got murdered at that Waffle
They
House.
did. They did. Now they did. It's been about 3 years ago.
Is it even a Waffle House unless something like that has happened? You know, I mean, the one on Highland.
Yeah.
The doors never close.
Right. I went there after church one time, and it was at night, and they had to shut down because the waitress, who was big and pregnant, stabbed the cook. You know, so they did shut down. Yeah, but I mean, then it became a real Waffle House. Yeah, what are some ideas? Like, because, I mean, Seagan, I went and met with Mr. Hiller-Moore. I've met with him several times on some of this stuff. I mean, he goes, you live on Seagan? He goes, you live on the, I think he called it the red zone or the hot spot or something like that. Like, I'm in the belly of the beast. I mean, you got to kind of look around while you're pumping gas. Like, what are some ideas on you know, kind of cleaning some of that up?
We're working on some things. I don't know if I'm quite ready to publicly talk about it.
For sure.
But it's for sure in our purview. We know it's an issue. When I tell people that live in the St. George area, really anywhere, of the things that take place in those motels, their first reaction is that they just can't believe it. They're astonished.
Yeah.
You know, when you start talking about things like drug trafficking, sex trafficking, all these things, you know, we live in an area where we think we're immune to that. And the reality of it is that it happens in our community just like any other community. You know, the fact that we're right there on the 1012 corridor, anybody in law enforcement will tell you that this is one of the busiest areas really anywhere regarding those two activities. And it seems like they've gotten kind of a foothold in that area. And all I know about footholds is that if they get a foothold in there, you're going to have to root them out. And you're going to have to, you know, establish a presence there that they don't want to be around.
Yeah.
So I think in the near future you'll see some hopefully some positive strides to kind of deal with some of that. But we absolutely recognize that it's an issue. I've always called Seagan Lane the perfect storm.
Yeah.
You know, you have so many different variables there that are all feeding into this one particular situation, and that's why it's you know, kind of a multi-headed beast.
Yeah. Yeah. And I kid. I'm not a fearful person. I never feel scared because I think one of the solutions, you know, because Seagan Lane is also an awesome street. I mean, we have tons of restaurants. And I think one of the things, like, as you know, the city of St. George can do is support those businesses. Like, suck it up, Buttercup, and go get some Waffle House. You know, we do it on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
You know, going and supporting these businesses and populating Seagan socially as a community, I think probably is a huge help.
Oh, it is. It's going to help. This is going to take time too,
Yeah.
and I understand what you're saying. We everybody knows that Rigger Road and Seagan Lane is a hot spot. Okay, and that's probably
Yeah.
what Hiller said, and,
Yeah.
and Hiller recognizes that, but just because of the hotels that you have right there.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, and it's just a perfect storm, like you said. But we have to be able to look at that from the community aspect and say, well, how can we address certain issues with whatever the issue may be, whether it be the hotels, whether it be the methadone clinic that's on Rigger Road, what's the attraction and draw there besides the location, you know,
Right.
some other reasons that may be involved with that also too
Yeah.
that we want to look at. But we want everybody to feel safe on the flip side of that too. We don't want
Yeah.
people thinking, you know, that they'll be victims of crime because they frequent Seagan Lane area now. We just
Right.
want to change, and it's all about perception. Okay, we want to change that perceptive that they have. And do it in small increments, and so that people notice a change and they see, and you're going to see the change. That's what
Yeah.
we want to do, and you make people feel comfortable. And then if you get out and you don't have a lot of people milling around the different area, milling around at the Waffle House or those intersections, whether it be homeless or whether it be staying at the hotels,
Yeah.
and the transient workers, and so we want to look at the totality of all those different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I would encourage anybody to, if you haven't been on Seagan Lane in a while, take a drive by there tonight. Take a drive there tomorrow and check it out. it's a palpable, to me anyway, it's a palpable different feeling going through there and not seeing the same things that we've been used to seeing for so many years. I welcome whoever you talk to that said they'll be back in a month, because who'll be there still in a month? We will.
Yeah.
What they're used to, what groups like this are used to, are they're used to being nomadic.
Yeah.
That's why if you pay attention to the names and faces like we do, they rotate, right?
Yeah.
They rotate because some area will get, they'll have a presence there that they'll want to be around, so they'll move on, but they know that they can always come back to this particular spot. The difference with what we're doing is that we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
We are, and I can tell you, I am fully 100% committed with every resource that we have available to us. And you know what the great part about our resources are, Chad? Is that there's so many people like you, like the Grove, like Jennifer Richardson, and there's probably 100 other groups out there.
Yeah.
That there's no doubt in my mind that if I went to a particular business and said, hey, look, we want to clean up the street, why don't you donate 2 lawnmowers to this nonprofit? They would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
There's so many people out there that want to help.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, the government has become this siloed, sealed off thing.
Yeah.
And this idea that, well, we're the government.
Right.
We don't need you. We'll fix it.
Yeah.
Just trust me. I'm with the government type mentality, right? Well, we have the completely different perspective on that.
Which is beautiful.
I look at you and I look at these other groups and I'm like, not to be the selfish one about it, but like, man, how can Chad help us, right? And Chad's doing all this great stuff and he's promoting all these wonderful things. How can he help us? Right? I haven't had one conversation with Jennifer Richardson where Jennifer Richardson said, look, we're going to do this, but it's going to cost $100.
Right.
Jennifer Richardson says, if you allow me to do this here, it's going to cost you nothing. She goes, I got volunteers lined up. I got these groups lined up, whatever. And to me, it's so simple.
Yeah.
We just have to be willing to put down our egos, I guess, if you will, and accept all the help that we can get. Because in order to really pull this off long term, okay, I'm not enough. Either are you, either is Richie, either is Chief Morris. The community has to buy into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? It goes back to that enabling part of it. We have to change the mindset, change the perspective on it all and say, okay, we've put a decent dent in this, but in order for this to be the new way of life out on here, the community 100% has to buy into it.
Yeah.
Right? That's why we put billboards up. There's billboards all over St. George now. And what does it say? It says, give to your local charities.
Yeah.
Support the charities. Don't support the panhandlers.
Right.
Right? And we're not trying to be cruel. We're not trying to be mean. Okay? But we know where that money goes to.
Yeah.
And that money's not going to charitable purposes.
Right.
It just isn't.
No.
Right?
We wanted to spread too. So what we're doing at Segan Lane, we're talking about Segan. We're going to do this for a month or so and continue to do it. Our presence will be there. But who's to say that doesn't spread to Bluebonnet?
Correct. Yeah.
Spread to College Drive. That's not a part of St. George, but it's the trickle effect. It spreads into Ascension Parish. It spreads over to the Denham Springs exit, and Bass Pro, and O'Neill Lane, and I mean Sherwood Forest is another hot spot that.
Big time.
I know it's not a part of St. George, but what we're doing in St. George, just a little thing, quick thing that we started up can transform the entire area, maybe even the state.
Yeah.
I know New Orleans needs a lot of
big time.
a lot of help, and everybody likes to follow a leader in doing something. And I'm just glad when we started something and we went out. And we didn't just talk about it for a couple of weeks. We all got sweaty and hot and walked in the woods and the mud. And
you messed
the
up
whole
your
deal.
on
messed
clouds.
up my brand new shoes and the whole bit.
Yeah.
And put it into action. So it's happening now. And I drive Segan Lane 4 or 5 times a day. My office is off in Industrialplex. I live down off Bluebonnet, or Burbank. So I'm on it constantly.
Yeah.
And Dustin told me, he's like, just keep your eyes out. How does it look? I called Todd a couple of times. All clear, or this is happening. So you can see a change. So if you're watching this podcast, drive them down Segan and see the change.
That's right.
And to Richie's point too, this is really this isn't just a St. George initiative. This is a parish-wide initiative.
Yeah.
So really for the first time ever in this parish, you truly have a collective group that is really trying to make a positive impact on some of these issues. So, I mean, Coach Sid is completely bought in.
Yeah.
Chief of Police in Baton Rouge is bought in. The sheriff is bought in. We're obviously bought in. Coach Sid's got a couple great folks that are working with them that are really kind of spearheading a lot of the things that they're doing. So, we don't want it to just be simply something where we're playing whack-a-mole all the time, right?
Yeah.
So we don't want to just be here and then, the problem's fixed here, per se, and then it just moves over there. I think that's what's going to happen initially.
Sure.
But I think if we continue the presence, continue the piling on of the resources, and just really, you have to show them. You have to show, look, this isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
In 30 days, we're going to be here. In 60 days, we're going to be here. In 90 days, we're going to be here. And all these things are going to be available to you. And these are all the things. It's going to do two things, in my opinion. One, the ones that are criminals are going to leave. Mm-hmm. Okay? Or they're going to decide not to be criminals anymore.
Right.
Okay?
That'd be great.
And then
Two wins.
the other part of it is that I truly believe that we're going to save more lives. So just in the little bit that we've done over a few days, there have been multiple people that have been brought into treatment. Mm-hmm. There was one gentleman that was suffering from some obvious psychiatric issues. He was transported to a psychiatric center. Sheriff's office runs his name. He's on a missing person list. Good. So now there's a potentiality of him actually being reconnected with his family. Those are real human beings, real lives that are being positively affected by this.
Yeah, yeah.
So take the optics of it out.
Of course.
Take, we like to see Segan Lane pretty and things like that. We're having a true positive impact on connecting people with resources that will save their lives.
Yeah, that's awesome. On the mentally ill, what are the legalities on that? If you have someone who doesn't have the capacity to make decisions for themselves, they're not going to make a decision to check into treatment. Like, is that something the coroner can step in on, or how can that work? Because there's 2 or 3 that they do not have mental capacity to make a good decision. They're not going to check themselves into a hospital. Is there anything you can do legally to help them?
Todd?
Well, I think we'd have to have a conversation with the coroner's office, and they can do, emergency commitment, bring them to the lake, keep them for 72 hours, and do a evaluation of them, And so I think we'd get the coroner's office involved with that aspect of that and try to get some guidance from what they would like to see doing when we come across those individuals that, may not have the mental capacity to make a decision, really recognize that the health crisis that they're in, at the time. And so, how we can help that and reach out to Bo Clark. He's a great guy. We have a great coroner, personal friend of mine. And so I know Bo would be all in to try to help us figure out that part of that from that aspect. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to, have a contact at his office because there's 2 ladies that I would love to be able to help. Get off there. They're not in St. George, but it's awful. Oh, it's awful to see.
As a mayor, it's a parish-wide project here, and so we're just fortunate to be a part of it. We're going to play a role of that, and so the Mayor Edwards and his team is also to see the value of that. And just like we don't want to just push them to College Drive, and then they come back. We don't want that. We want a sustainability program, which I mentioned earlier, to be able to have a long-term effect of that. Then the community actually see that come 6 months, 9 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road. Once again, it's got to be sustainable, and we want to do that with all of our partners to address this collectively. Yeah,
and it all boils down to, y'all both touched on it, it's being consistent, a consistent presence. And I know from me, being a leader of a church, churches get criticized all the time for, and you've seen this before, running into a situation, some photo ops, and then you never see them again. Mm-hmm. But if you stay committed, we're committed to several different areas in the city. Low-income areas, under-resourced areas, and we've been going for 4 or 5 years. Well, then you have some real rapport with those folks, and you can make a big difference. So I think being consistent and proving them wrong. In a month, you can try to come back, but we're still going to be here. We're here to help you, but we're also here to make sure you're not going to.
Yeah, and along the way, and Mayor and I, we've talked about it and discussed it. We're going to make mistakes. We're not going to do it right the first time. We're going to learn from those, though. But if we continue to do nothing, we're going to get the same results. We have to try and start somewhere and then make adjustments as we go and learn from our mistakes, because we're going to fail. We're going to make mistakes. Hey, this didn't work. Okay, well, let's try something else. But if we never try anything, we're going to always get the same results. So we need to just try something different approach collectively as a team approach and effort.
Well, to your point earlier, eventually you have to hit the point where you stop handing out brochures and you start doing work.
Yes.
You know,
Be out there
I've been
sweating.
criticized many times in my past, and people say, "Man, you like to jump off a cliff without a parachute." So, well, sometimes you just got to jump.
Got to, yeah.
Sometimes you just got to jump.
Yeah.
You know, yes, would we love a parachute? Yeah, everybody would obviously love that parachute when they're heading over the cliff.
A little
But
water
sometimes,
when you land in.
yeah, sometimes you just got to go, and you got to figure out what works on the way down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's we can sit here and strategize this thing to death. We can what if it to death, but you really don't know. You know, it's like the old saying, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face, right? And everybody has a great plan. But if all it ever stays is a plan, then what are we doing here?
Absolutely.
You know, so part of that is making mistakes.
Yeah.
We're going to make mistakes, and not all this is going to work.
Yeah.
And the things that aren't going to work, we're going to scrap it. The things that are going to work, we're going to reinforce them.
Yeah.
And put as much resources we can behind that, and we're going to move.
Yeah.
You know, that's the important part. Is
Yeah.
just, and I think that's what people get frustrated a lot with government is that they get in these stagnant waters and they just sit.
Yeah.
You know, and they just wait. And, next thing you know, there's another administration that goes by and whatever else. And that's not our MO. That's not what St. George is going to be. That's not how we fought so long and hard to get to where we're at. We're going to move.
Yeah. I love it. How long is the term for a mayor?
4 years.
4 years. Okay. And, I mean, if it spreads to other cities, I like the sound of Governor Yates. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, that has a ring to it.
Let me tell you who wouldn't like the ring of that. Her name's Allison Yates.
I think y'all are doing a fantastic job. I wanted to ask you something, Richie, because you're kind of helping with the garbage contract. The other day, the garbage man made me put my trash cans in the trash can. They say, hey, you got to come out here and help me if you want me to take your trash cans. So, like, what are you going to do to fix that?
Good, you gotta
Just joking.
gotta get out there and work.
Yeah, I know, but
Go and do.
I know I've bugged you before. They don't want to pick up limbs and stuff. You fixing that?
So, well, it's we're dealing with a new city and a way we've done things, and there is a garbage contract, and I'm going to sling this over to Dustin in a minute.
See that
as
happens.
well because
you shoot him a barb, and the next thing you know, come back to me.
I was trying to give him a little love, man.
Right now, we have a parish-wide contract with a garbage collection place and our company, and they understand that we're with the Sid Edwards administration and our administration at St. George, we want things clean from blight. I mean, a lot of us have heard Coach talk about blight issues in Baton Rouge. We talk about it with our code enforcement in St. George, and so again, we're doing something about it. Coach is doing something about it. So it's Republic Services. They're wanting to do something about it.
Good.
So, I mean, some of the last meetings that we've had with them, with some of their ways that they can pick up woody debris or trash that's outside of the box that you were down in before you got out and helped and all that. They're going to start moving and picking up some of that stuff.
Yeah, I don't mind
as
working.
an initiative in a way to help clean up St. George, Baton Rouge, our parish. So, Dustin, I'll throw that back over to you because I know you've had more meetings than I've had with it. But
not to go back to the previous administration in Baton Rouge, but there were some things that happened with that garbage contract that I think that some folks would have rather not have happened.
Yeah.
And one of them had to deal with out-of-cart pickup items. You know, we don't have an option in East Baton Rouge Parish with out-of-cart stuff. Like, we need to have out-of-cart pickup to a pretty large degree. You know, if we lived in some other parishes, we just roll it in the back 40 and we burn it, right?
Right.
Well, we can't do that here.
Yeah.
So, the elimination of some of that in the previous contract, to me, was a little short-sighted. I'll give Republic a lot of credit. They are working to provide some solutions for that. It's funny that I've always told people, it's like, man, people get all up in arms about trash. I've never, ever had an issue with trash. Like, I roll it out a couple days a week, and they pick it up every time. But the last time I met with them, our trash pickup is on Monday mornings and Thursdays, I believe, at my house. I was meeting with them Monday afternoon, and we're sitting down with them. I said, look, I got to tell you this. I said, the first time in my life, I said, my trash was missed this morning. They said, oh, my God, I can't believe it. They missed your trash can. They came and picked it up the next day.
Yeah.
But, look, there's a lot of moving pieces and parts to it. I think we're going to come to, and I think they're going to come up with some really good solutions to kind of alleviate that.
Yeah, I think we were just spoiled because, man, I mean, ever since I was a kid, man, you throw a bunch of stuff out there, they're going to pick it up. And last time I had an issue was a rental property that people just left in the middle of the night. I mean, I put everything on the street, like the whole house. And I was like, Richie, bro, why won't they pick up my trash?
I remember you calling me about that. I'm like, but you have
and usually it's
and chairs and lamps.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A prosthetic leg.
That was my brother's house.
Yeah, and they wouldn't pick it up. Usually a squeaky wheel gets the grease, but I just had to pay somebody to come haul it off. Well, let me ask you this. So y'all have a lot of building to do. Do you think in 4 years you'll get to anything fun, like culturally, establishing anything? You know, like Donald Trump, he's having a UFC fight at the Capitol. He's doing some fun things. Do you have any fun vision or ideas?
We were a cool place in St. George to host a UFC fight.
Yes, indeed.
Right
here, yeah, Purpose Church, yeah.
That's a great question, and that's really important to us as well. So, government's government, right? And there's a mechanical side to it. There's roads and streets and drainage and all those other things. But a big role that we play in really too is quality of life.
Yeah.
So people have to have a reason to want to be here.
Sure.
And part of that is having nice things to do on the weekends and evening times and stuff like that. So we have a couple things kind of in the hopper that we're working through that I think not ready to fully talk about it yet because it's still kind of in the very, very preliminary phases of it. But that will help change some of that dynamic. Not just in St. George, but some of them would really be regional. So that's constantly in our minds. In this game, you're always going in 6 different lanes at a time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is definitely one of the lanes that we're in, and we have some good people and some folks in the community that are trying to help us out. I was told the other day there was another lady that wanted to come in and talk to me about, an arts district in St. George, and those are all great things.
Yeah.
Those are all things that you have to have. The cool part, there's a lot of downsides of starting a city from scratch, right? But a lot of the cool parts is that what we do over the next however many years, you're really establishing the identity of who you are going to become, right? And quality of life plays such a huge role in that. You travel to other cities and other states, and it used to be super depressing to me. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like, man, this city's got all these things. Yeah. And you know what we got in Baton Rouge? We got LSU football 6 Saturdays a year.
Right.
And don't forget about baseball now.
Okay, I'm a big baseball fan too. But you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But not everybody likes football.
Yeah.
And not everybody likes baseball.
Right.
You have an arts community out there that's starving for things. Mm-hmm. You have people that like concerts. You have people that like UFC fights. Yeah. You have people that maybe want a few extra places to go fish.
Yeah.
All these other things that we could be doing. And to me, that's where all your partnerships come, really come into frame.
Yeah. Wow. What about like a flag? Do we have a St. George flag yet?
Great, that's another great question. So we have a seal.
Okay.
Our original flag will have the seal on the flag. Our flag poles are being delivered, I think, in 2 weeks to the new city building. So we'll fly our seal there. I don't know exactly what we're going to do with it, Chad. We've had a few people send us in some stuff. But I'm thinking more along the lines of a lot more community involvement in it. Almost put it out like a contest.
That would be fun. Okay.
Let some other people get involved in it. And to me, that's a better way than me deciding or the council deciding. Let's get the community involved in it.
Put it into our schools that are out here. And let the kids draw something in art class, and there's a winner, and we can talk about that. That might be something fun.
That would be fun. Yeah.
I can tell you.
It's not going to be me drawing it.
It's going to be like color the weather flag.
He couldn't color in the lines when he was a kid.
I can't draw a stick, man.
So we're out.
We're out.
Well, cool. Well, man, I appreciate what you're doing. I mean, I know how difficult it is to start something, to bear a burden, not near at the level that you are, but I can. For me, for our church, for our ministry, we're here to support, be a part, and I'm really thankful that St. George is in such good hands. I mean, y'all are great men and doing a good thing, and we'll do anything we can to be a part, to serve alongside, and be a part of making the city great.
Well, we really appreciate it, Chad. And first and foremost, as far as what you can really do to help us here with your church is pray for us.
Yeah.
You know, that means a lot. We get a lot of messages and little note cards and different things from different churches, and they'll write to us specifically and say, you know, this Sunday we were praying for you by name, and people don't give that enough credit of what it really is. Yeah. And I can tell you, in the position that we're in now, you can really feel it. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not just words on a piece of paper to us. It's something that's truly real and is truly needed. So first and foremost, that's what we would ask, as always, is that you keep us in your prayers.
For sure. You got that. And we're going to be, I know our ministry is going to be there Friday night, going to have a presence on St. George. And, I encourage everyone to stop giving money to panhandlers. And if you're like, I want to give them something, come by Purpose Church. We'll give you some. We have our ministry is called Restoring Purpose Ministries. We'll give you cards that have a phone number. A man or woman can call that number and get into rehab pretty much that day. So I just want to give them something. Give them something that's going to change their life, not money, because you're just enabling.
Correct. Yeah, and that is key. We just need to make sure our public knows that. We are enabling them to do that. And our compassionate side, and they recognize that here in Baton Rouge, that you have a lot of great people here, and they're very compassionate. They want to help out and give, but it really allows them to enable them, and we want to try to minimize that. Because there's plenty of shelters, there's plenty of places to get things, get supplies, get food that are out there doing it that they can receive those things from.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you, guys.
No, appreciate you, Chad.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, man. Appreciate it.
All right, guys.
All right.